maintain hope of chasing down the Mets. Tonight, they entertain the Orioles, carrying slim playoff hopes of their own. Gio gets the ball tonight against Ubaldo Jimenez in a must-win situation on both sides. Two ball clubs here at Nationals Park clinging to some playoff hopes. The ultimate, let's take it one day at a time. Although the Orioles are under 500, the Nats are well over with their 3-game winning streak, and they've won 7 of 8. So they're 6.5 behind the Mets, who took care of their business last night. Magic number 7. Orioles 6 games back in the wild card, but a whole bunch of teams ahead of them make it a rough go for Baltimore. Welcome to the ballpark, a night off. Max Scherzer, by the way, goes tomorrow night. They're going to keep him on his regular rest. Gio gets an extra day. And at this stage of the season, what does an extra day off do for a ball club after not able to play last night?
Well, everybody's banged up this time of year. You know, whether you're a pitcher, whether you're a position player, you're grinding. It's middle of September, late September. You're coming down the wire, so an off day good for everybody. All
right, the Nats did lose an off day Thursday, but here they are again tonight. First game of the series. Now, Gio hot lately, but he's facing a better offensive ball club tonight than he has in his last couple of starts.
Yeah, 26 strikeout his last 3 starts, 9 walks, effectively wild as usual. One left-hander, Chris Davis, in the Orioles lineup tonight. Gio Gonzalez, they need a big one out of him once again.
Ubaldo Jimenez signed a 4-year free agent contract with the Orioles prior to last season. He's 11-9, and the Nats have not faced him in 4 years. Last time was late 2011. So the offense has been in high gear over the last week or so, winning 7 of 8, 7 runs a game, 15 homers, and the on-base percentage is .387. Harper leading the way, Escobar and company getting their share of hits. This could be an offensive series with lots of power hitting. Ball on Masson, brought to you by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. That is a serious collection of baseballs and the Curly W here at Nats Park. Couple of good offensive ball clubs the way they're going right now. So pitching will be very, very important in this series, as it always is. Mostly clear skies, 70 degrees, but there's a breeze coming out of the north. It's coming right down Half Street, over the bullpen, and right into Nationals Park here. Humidity, it's up a little bit at 64% after last night's rainout. Orioles are hitting only .247 in September, .252 on the year. Manny Machado always hits well against the Nats. He's at 47 multi-hit games on the year, 419 against Washington pitching. This is Gio's first start. He's an aging left-hander now, his first since his 30th birthday, as he takes on this Baltimore lineup.
Yeah, see a little gray in that beard for Gio tonight. He tied a career-high 12 strikeouts in 7 strong innings against Philly his last start on the 16th. Gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, walked 2 through 110 pitches.
First pitch of the series, and Nolan Reimold hacking. We're underway at 7:05. Two for 12 career against Gio for the 31-year-old outfielder. And the 0-1 pitch. Close to the inside edge, just missed. 17-year veteran and the crew chief Brian O'Nora has the plate. Mark Ripperger, Ed Hickox, Alan Porter, first, second, and third. Well, you've been talking about that breaking ball he's been featuring lately. Breaking ball and changeup have been solid. And that's a fastball up in the strike zone to get Reimold looking first out of the game.
So 12 strikeouts his last start against the Phillies, and that's how this one starts against the O's. Fastball inside. Good frame by Jose Lobaton. Might keep an eye on that if Brian O'Nora is buying what Lobaton's selling back there. But watch Lobaton take his glove and present this a little more of a strike than it was. O'Nora with a long look and then calls strike 3. That's the confidence factor that Jose Lobaton brings Gio Gonzalez.
Here's Manny Machado hitting .289. Now, we showed you those numbers, career against the Nats, but in Baltimore, when the Nats won 2 out of 3 in July, they did a good job. He was 2 for 10 in that series. He did walk 3 times. That's a comebacker. Gio jumped really early, kind of hanging in the air to grab it, and 2 quick outs.
Well, he wears those Jumpman cleats. He's got to be able to get up. Worth, Taylor, Harper, the outfield. Desmond Escobar left side. Rendon Robinson right side. And Jose Lobaton doing the catching.
And this is where the Nats would usually see Adam Jones back bugging him out of the lineup. So it's Chris Davis bumped up to the number 3 spot. What a season he's having. The home runs first in the American League, one ahead of Nelson Cruz, the ex-Oriole. That's out to Ian Desmond, backhand, fires it, and Clint Robinson unable on that in-between hop to hang on.
Well, Chris Davis runs decent for a big fella, and Ian Desmond goes to the backhand, stands up, and maybe got rid of that a click sooner than he had to, but that was based on the speed of Chris Davis. Didn't get any help from Clint Robinson at first, and we'll see how they score that one. Usually they make the first hit be a clean one. You could argue on both sides of that one. If you're Chris Davis, you want that a hit. If you're Gio Gonzalez, you want that as an error.
On the scoreboard under the scoring column, They just flashed 2 question marks. So they're still debating.
That says error, though, to the right.
Yeah, that's, I wonder, there it is, E6.
I think they were questioning who they were giving the error to. Whether it was the shortstop or the first baseman.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that's got to be on the throw. So Ian Desmond with the error, the 2-out error. Here's Steve Pearce, the right fielder. 223, but power numbers always there for Pierce last couple of years. And he skies this one out to center. Michael A. Taylor. This time of the year, that twilight time just about done by the time we throw first pitch. Good first inning for Gio. Here comes that high-flying Nats offense. starting to feel like September. Here come the Nats, 6th in the league in hitting. And by the way, when they scored a bunch of runs on Sunday, they jumped up to #1 in the National League at 672. Anthony Rendon in the middle of everything. Last 27 games hitting .330. 16 RBIs. He scored 26 times after walking 14 times and getting a whole bunch of base hits. This was the lineup that was posted for the game last night.
I see the arsenal for Ubaldo Jimenez. He surrendered at least 1 run in the first inning in 6 of his 12 starts after the All-Star break. That's 13 total runs. So the object for the Nats is to get him early. Don't let him settle in. He's throwing that fastball to a corner, running back the fastball to right-handers. That's when he's at his best. O's fans, Nats fans, orange, blue, red, all kinds of colors over there. Can't we all just get along? I think they are. I like it.
Rendon at 278 facing Ubaldo Jimenez for the first time. As I mentioned during the Open, the Nats haven't seen Jimenez in person since 2011 when he was still with Colorado. Went to Cleveland later that year. Of all things, an ankle problem limited him last year to 22 starts. He's in the second year of that 4-year deal. He had Rendon reaching right there, and J.J. Hardy, who's made 3 errors all year, throws him out.
So the defense for the O's behind Jimenez tonight. Reimold, Lake, Pierce the outfield. Hardy, Machado left side. Scope Davis right side. And Caleb Joseph behind the plate. You're looking at the active major league leader in consecutive games played at 149. Manny Machado.
Yeah, look out, Cal.
Cal just giggled. 149.
149. There's Escobar. Now he's seen Jimenez in the American League in recent years while with Toronto, and he's done well. 8 for 21 with a homer and 2 RBIs. Steps in the league's 4th leading hitter. On base percentage over .380. He's only 3 points behind Buster Posey. 2-0. I mean, the numbers just keep coming for these guys. First 4 hitters in the lineup really hot. And then whoever plays first base, Robinson or Moore, a little further down in the lineup, chipping in. Bryce is next, hitting .343, the highest batting average in the major leagues. 6 points higher than Miguel Cabrera. Escobar looks at a 3-0 right in there. All time, the Orioles lead the Battle of the Beltways 30-23. They've won 10, lost 9 at Nationals Park since the beginning of '08. And Escobar's aboard for Bryce Harper. There goes that on-base percentage up another click or so.
Ubaldo looks like he's not finishing his pitches right now. There's a serious recoil in his delivery when he lets go of the baseball. He is not reaching out to the target at all. Almost like he's uncomfortable or not even loose at this point.
Bryce Harper faces Jimenez for the first time. Orioles play a big shift. And if Bryce sees a pitch on the outer edge of the plate, you know what he's been doing with that lately. He's just been, if he can't pull anything, he'll just guide some base hits to left.
It's that 2-seam fastball that'll start right at you and run it back. Usually does it with 2 strikes. Did to Bryce Harper with 1. And his split does the same thing. His split will start at a lefty and kind of run back too. Both pitches very similar. Split goes down more than the fastball, though. Fastball stays on the same plane.
Off-speed pitch. Well, if there's one ball club Bryce would like to do more damage against, it's the Orioles. Interleague play career just .208.
Well, he plays him 6 times. Give him some slack. Sure, if he played him more and had an idea, there'd be some damage there.
2-2.
I like interleague play. I like the regional part, the regional rivalries in interleague play. I just don't think it should be done this late in the season. This series should have been in June or July when it's warm and you can pack the house and get tons of people in here. I think having it the last couple of weeks of the season is silly.
2-2. The great eye. The strike zone awareness of Bryce Harper into play again now with the count going full. Yeah, the problem now is 15 teams in each league. There's got to be interleague somewhere every day.
But the regional
level, your point's well taken.
The rivalries should be given better dates.
Outside, it's another walk for Bryce Harper. His 116th.
Well, we've seen this so many times this year. An 0-2 count to Bryce Harper, and then pitchers trying to make the perfect pitch. So there's strike 1, there's strike 2. Now watch him. It has just, I'm going to make the perfect pitch. I want him to fish. Let's see if I can get him here. How about 3-2? Will he bite? No. And Bryce Harper is swinging at strikes, taking balls all season long. And we've seen pitcher after pitcher try to do the same thing and being unable to put Bryce Harper away.
2009, Adam Dunn walked 116 times, and Bryce is going to go well beyond that. Here's Jason Worth, 1 for 3 against the right-hander. He goes up taking.
Just not finishing his fastball. I mean, watch the recoil in his delivery. If you're at home, watch when he lets go of the pitch. I mean, your eye's going to take you to the pitch in the strike zone. But if you focus on Jimenez right now, he's really not reaching out to the target. Watch his arm recoil here. I mean, that's his natural delivery, but it looks like more than usual tonight. He's just not finishing, at least toward the target.
2-0. And Worth takes a strike.
I think Jason loved that call. Might have been down. What do you think, pitch track?
Even the pitch track didn't like it. That means it probably should have had some dirt on it. Pitching coach Dave Wallace a bit concerned here early. Strike 2.
Same spot. Maybe the bottom of the zone, but 2-1, you don't want to swing it. That's a double play waiting to happen. Good frame by Joseph, pulling it up a little bit to get the call.
I mean, there's no signal from the umpire going to third base. Escobar, was that ball fouled or what?
Why does he have to go back?
Brian O'Nora never signaled foul ball. And I give credit to Escobar for alertly going over to third just in case.
Did O'Nora signal timeout, though, after the pitch had already kind of rolled out in front? If he did that, then Escobar can't advance. Did it hit his bat? Is that what Jason Worth is asking?
Must have, because it counts 2-2.
I missed that.
But he never signaled foul ball. Worth takes one right down the middle. That'll be 2 outs, and it'll be up to Clint Robinson.
Having watched this whole season, Carp, and watched the balls and strikes, and we've commented a lot about it with pitch track, do you think that there's a pressure on a home plate umpire this year with speeding the game up to expand the strike zone and make it bigger than it's ever been?
Boy, I hope not. Hard to say yes or no, but I sure hope that nothing is changing the way games are being called or have been called. I mean, and you know, we talked about this. Every umpire, especially the veteran guys, have their own strike zone.
And I'm not talking about, hey, I'm going to call strikes tonight to speed the game up, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking pace of play.
Little tapper by Clint Robinson. Jimenez picks it up with a bare hand, and so the strikeout and that little bouncer gets him out of a rough inning when he walked Escobar and Harper.
a home run to Major League Park, Carp? Have you ever wanted free season tickets, Carp?
Yes.
Well, now's your chance. Purchase or renew.
On the first one, yes.
For your 2016 Nats Plus membership by October 5th for your chance to swing for your seats. Clint Robinson showed you how to do it the first night we read this promo. Hit a home run. You win seats for next season free if you hit a tater. Some rules and restrictions apply. Visit nationals.com/swing for more information, or visit nationals.com/Nats Plus to purchase or renew your season plan. It could have been taters for tickets, but what do I know?
That's good. Dingers for ducats.
I'm getting a dog, and I'm naming him Taylor, by the way. Start throw that out there.
Out to short for Ian Desmond off the bat of Jonathan Scope. How about this? 4 outs on 12 pitches for Gio to start his night.
Good sinker going, good changeup working.
Catcher Caleb Joseph is next. Sorry.
It's not a comfortable at bat. I mean, the best part about coming from the minor leagues to the big leagues is guys are around the plate. So now as a hitter, you can be way more aggressive because all these guys up here throw strikes. See the ball better. The backdrops are better. The ball carries in the ballparks more. In the minor leagues, you're hitting out of trees when they're in bloom, and when the leaves aren't there yet, you can't see the. I mean, there's all kinds of different variables. And then you get here, and you have great backdrops and pitchers around the strike zone, great bats that you don't have in the minor leagues, so you go up there and hack. Facing Gio Gonzalez a lot, like facing a minor league guy, because one pitch will be over your head, one pitch will be on the black, one pitch will be perfect. He's not a comfortable at bat.
Gio pitched well against the Orioles Friday, July 10th at Camden Yards. Only gave up 1 run in 6 innings. That was the game the Nats lost on the walk-off homer by Jonathan Scope. But the Nats won the other 2 games of that series after losing the opener.
See, like that pitch right there, for instance. Got 2 strikes, you're battling, and the catcher has to jump up to catch it. Now watch, she'll probably paint something right here, 2-2.
Pretty good looking breaking ball, a little bit low, 3-2. Joseph 1 for 3 against Gio. And that fastball sails way outside. Orioles their second base runner. J.J. Hardy, the shortstop, next. That's kind of the expression you get from a pitching coach after a walk. Some concern, but he knows his guy's throwing the ball and has serious stuff going tonight. And that is a little bit outside. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Good 2-seamer right on the edge.
J.J. Hardy's been hampered by a left groin strain that he suffered 3rd week of August. 8 home runs on the year. 9 last year. And the 3 years before that, 11, 12, and 13, 30, 22, and 25. 3 career hits against Gio. The count's 1-2. Short lead by Joseph. And that's foul. In New York, it's Matt Whistler for the Braves. Logan Verrett for the Mets, who have a run in the bottom of the 1st. So Gio missing on the changeup, and the count's even. Nats defense looking to make a play here. Gio's got to get him to put it in play, and he doesn't. 2 walks in a row. Jimenez did it in bottom of the first. And now Gio Gonzalez, top of the second, with Junior Lake coming up.
Good trip by Jose Lobaton, trying to calm Gio down and slow Gio down. Looks a little quick with his delivery right now. The arm's trailing. Slow everything down and make some pitches. Catchers will go to the mound in situations like this and say, hey, you're 1 pitch away. Give me a good sinker right here. Let's get a ground ball and go hit.
Junior Lake hit .224 in just 21 games for the Cubs before he was traded to the Orioles for right-handed pitcher Tommy Hunter at the trading deadline. And then after hitting .312 at AAA, he's 3 for 19 in 6 games with the O's. And a ball to right. Bryce Harper's going to get himself back on the track. That thing still going about 5 feet, if that, short of the bullpen fence for a loud second out. Joseph to third.
Well, on a cool, breezy night, you're thinking Nats Park is going to play pretty large. And I think you noted earlier, Carp, the wind kind of blowing that way, but the flags don't seem to be telling that story right now. Maybe there's a breeze up there we can't feel, but that ball had some carry to it.
Yeah, the breeze has died down. Ubaldo Jimenez 1 for 5 this year. Early days in the National League with Colorado. He's a 115 hitter with 10 RBIs.
Not a bad hack.
"31 years of age now. And that is an RBI hit to right center by the American League pitcher. And that's Jimenez, second RBI of the year on his second base hit.
Well, you could tell by the first swing on the fastball that it was a good swing, and the leg kick was a little tardy that time. This time he gets it up and gets it down a little bit earlier. Just a really short kind of pepperish swing right there for Jimenez, and he puts his ball club up. First run of the night for the O's, 1-0 on an RBI single from Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah, on their first base hit. So here's Nolan Reimold, who struck out looking in the first. And he's got a base hit to left. Hardy coming around. Takes Worth a while to get to that one. No chance. 2-0 Baltimore. 2 walks and they both scored.
Well, there's effectively wild and there's wild, and Gio with a couple of walks here in the second pays dearly for him. And you're thinking American League pitcher coming up, I'm out of this jam, and you wonder if maybe Gio was thinking that too. Just like that, a little 2-out rally by the Orioles, and it's 2-0.
Inning keeps getting tougher. Here's Machado. Hit a one-hopper back to Gio that he had to jump up for first time. And the Orioles have been aggressive early in the count, early in this game. And Bryce Harper under this one. Baltimore, 2 walks, 2 hits, and they go up 2-0.
The Nationals offense has really gotten some positive strides going over the last few months. July scoring just over 3 runs per game, while so far in September, over 6 runs per game. I asked Matt Williams yesterday what he attributes that growth to, and he said some of it's health, certainly, with Jason Worth, Anthony Rendon coming back from their injuries and getting more at-bats under their belt. And they've also hit the long ball pretty effectively thus far in September, 3rd in the majors in home runs. But Matt said maybe most importantly is we've gotten a lot of traffic on the bases recently. Guys are stringing together a lot of good at-bats. They're keeping the line moving, and then one swing can really open it up, and we saw that on Sunday. Tyler Moore hit a 3-run shot. Escobar had a bases-clearing triple. 6 runs right there off of 2 swings. Thanks to those runners on base, guys. The Nats have been doing a good job of keeping that line moving of late.
Yeah, setting the table, getting them in. When you're talking Cards, you're talking Coons. That's Dan with our Coons.com sideline reports. Most runs in the league by the Nats, 672. 1 more than Arizona after the unexpected night off last night. And Ian Desmond, 2 for 9 career against Ubaldo Jimenez. Takes one inside, bottom of the 2nd underway.
Let's go deep inside the numbers, see some tater distance. The average home run distance in the league. Jock Peterson with 24, leading at 423 on average. Giancarlo Stanton, I would have thought, or Bryce Harper would be at the top of that, but look at Ian Desmond in there. He hits him far. Remember that one he hit? Where was that when Bryce Harper did the Home Alone face in the dugout?
I didn't write Home Alone face in my scorebook, so I'm going to have a hard time finding that. But was that here or on the road? Guys who hit him, and boy, do they hit him. Target away on 2-2. That was a 22-pitch first inning, by the way, for Ubaldo Jimenez with those 2 walks and a strikeout. He only threw 11 strikes. Ian Desmond takes the Nats' 3rd walk. Desmond continues to pile up the bases on balls since the All-Star break. 24 now of his season total of just 41. Michael A. Taylor. Desmond started, stopped, and goes back, and they got him. He really went a ways before stopping and coming back, and that gave Caleb Joseph a chance to throw him out.
No argument from Desmond. Matt Williams might want to look at it, but you could tell by the reaction of Ian Desmond that he was out. Well, got him on the back arm and did his left arm with the sleeve on it get there first. That was a little bit closer than it looked initially. This will tell the story right here. Doesn't tag him until right.
Got a pretty good bunt laid down by Taylor. Base hit all the way. Machado and Jimenez ran into each other. And Michael A. Taylor lays down a beauty for the Nats' first base hit tonight.
Still trying to think of what Ian Desmond was planning on doing. Maybe didn't get the jump he wanted. As you look at Michael A. Taylor with a perfect bunt on the 3rd base line, put it in your pocket. There goes a no-hitter bunt for Michael A. Taylor. He just didn't feel like he had a good jump. Maybe Jimenez quick pitched him a little bit and he tried to choke it off. I still think maybe we get that look at that last Expo shot that it was pretty close.
Yeah, the ball beat him, but did the tag.
We had to go to the pitch, and it was just getting to the good part. Yeah, left hand wasn't there yet. Tagged him on the right arm.
Jose Lobaton. And Taylor had a lean going. In fact, he took a jab step stopped, and then Jimenez threw over.
That's how teams are throwing over early on Michael A. Taylor. You know, word's gotten out he likes to go on the first pitch, so they're throwing over quick.
Michael A. Taylor was barely into his lead when Jimenez was coming home. 0-2. Orioles on the other side of the infield really have Lobaton bunched towards second base. 0-2 pitch. He's got a fight here. It is a pitch away, and he takes it the other way out of play.
You know, Theobaldo Jimenez right now, he threw over a couple of times, and Michael Taylor had a little jelly leg going back. So, you know, a lot of times the pitcher, you're throwing over to see if he's going, you're throwing over to keep him close. But when you see that, you change your game plan to try to pick him off and get an out. And I think that's what he's thinking right now. That's why he keeps throwing over.
Now the target way in, right where the pitch went to the catcher's mitt. Ball one.
Did anybody else think Brian O'Nora was standing up to ring him up? I did. He deked me right there.
Pitch number 4 was off the plate. In again. Lobaton on a changeup up in the zone. 2 down. Second strikeout.
Has a little fade to this one. Said it was just like the fastball. You get a pretty good idea right there at 85. See if Gio can at least pay him back in the form of a single. Have to hit a gap for an RBI.
Gio 3 for 38, couple of RBIs on the year.
Steve Pearce is playing in a second base shift in right field. I don't think I've seen a right fielder that shallow all season. I mean, Anthony Rendon and Danny Espinosa have played in a shift like that, maybe 5 steps in as the second baseman, where Steve Pearce is playing as the right fielder right now. Right there. And there's been times when Espinosa and Rendon have played like right there. So it's not that much difference. Actually, I missed that X. I meant to put it deeper.
Gets a strike call on the inside edge on 3-0. Now the outside edge. Taylor will be running with the pitch. And Gio swinging a foul tip into the catcher's mitt. Couple of rough innings for both pitchers with command issues, but Baltimore has a 2-run lead.
Top of the third inning, and you are looking live at Steven Strasburg, who in my mind is pitching better than anybody in baseball. And he backed it up again with another stellar performance against the Marlins. 10 strikeouts, fastball sizzling wherever he wants it, curveball changeup to complement it, just as filthy. And he is absolutely locked in, consistently the best we've seen him as a major league pitcher.
Yeah, pitchers are players too. Co-players of the week, the guy in right and the guy on the mound every 5th day. Congratulations to Bryce and Steven. Chris Davis reached on a throwing error by Ian Desmond. First time up. Couple of steps onto the right field grass, Anthony Rendon. And Davis will pull it that way, bringing Anthony forward, and a little glove shovel for the first out.
Touchdown Zim bobblehead. First 25,000 fans are going to get one of those. Come out to Nats Park on Friday, September 25th. It really commemorates his no-hitter on the last day of the season last year against the Marlins. Visit Nationals.com to purchase your tickets right now. You know, I've been seeing that promo for a while now. I just noticed that it's got this Steven Souza Jr. catch in the background. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I am sharp. Can't take my eyes off the Zim.
You know, we had another no-hitter this year too.
We did? The Beatles break up?
Steve Pearce, fly ball to center first time. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pearce by far had his biggest big league season last year when he hit .293 for the Orioles, 21 homers, 49 RBIs. One of those homers beat the Nats up in Baltimore. This ball spinning to the right side. Robinson leads Gio, well played by the first baseman and the pitcher. 2 outs.
Gio's got the good changeup work tonight. Pearce right off the end of the bat, little squibber, and look at Gio hustling to get over there. Good feed by Clint Robinson, just beats Pearce. Nice play. Good changeup down the way. Pearce convinced it was a fastball way out in front.
Jonathan Scope swinging early in the count. He bounced out to Desmond, starting the second.
Good curve.
Yeah, right-hander trying to jump out there and get it.
Starts way in the left-handed batter's box, comes all the way back to the outside corner.
Yeah, and then when you think you've reached it, it goes straight down.
Well, 2 in a row. Now he can bounce one and go past the swing. He doesn't need to throw the curveball for a strike. If he throws it for a ball, he's got a good chance of getting him.
92 up and away and a 1-2-3. Gio gets that quick inning he was looking for after the 2-run second. Top of the order for the Nats coming. For the order, Rendon, Escobar, and Harper. Ubaldo Jimenez, 42 pitches, first 2 innings, and 22 have been strikes. Anthony Rendon, a ground ball to short to start his night.
Jimenez living dangerously. It seems like he's falling behind hitter after hitter. Not a recipe for success at this level, but he has made some good pitches when he's had to.
Yeah, so 45 pitches and just over half strikes. He's really got an interesting way of kind of flipping that right hand when it takes it way behind before he starts to come forward. Interesting delivery by this guy who is so tough on the Nats. And that was a little bit short on the breaking ball. 5-1 career in 7 starts against Washington with a 2.61, but the Nationals haven't seen him in 4 years, and he's not throwing as hard as he was back then. Two years in a row, he won 15 and 19 in Colorado. And he just issued his 4th walk of the game. 2nd consecutive leadoff walk.
All right, it's time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag NatsWalkCam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast that's brought to you by T-Mobile. Or hashtag NatsCouchCam. I mean, you walked 4 guys in 3 innings. Somebody here is going to cash in soon.
Yeah. Escobar, the first guy he walked with 1 out 2 innings ago. Escobar sitting at 163 hits. Tied for 8th in the league with Nolan Arenado. Jimenez is looking for his 100th career win tonight. He's 99 and 93, 263rd start. Escobar gone. Don't see that happen very often. He loves to hack.
Well, we talked about effectively wild with Gio Gonzalez, but you could say the same for the Orioles pitcher tonight. He just walks Anthony Rendon and then makes beautiful pitches on Yunel Escobar. The split before that was nasty. The fastball right there. And I'm wondering, I know if it's just for a split second. I was talking to Mike Bordick about this before the game. If you can pick up that split when Ubaldo puts the ball behind his back. When you watch his delivery, his arm actually goes behind his back. And as a right-handed hitter, or even a left-handed hitter, right there, I wonder if you could see the split grip on it. That would be the only pitch you could possibly pick up that quick as a hitter. But it's so hard to look down there and then catch the release point window.
Yeah.
But he's showing you the pitch in his grip. I'd be curious to know if American League teams have ever thought of trying to pick that up or have picked that up.
Bryce Harper walked first time, tying a Nats record of 116. Trying to bunt for a hit, and he just guided it too far to the left.
So 0-2 last time to a walk, now 0-2 this time. See what happens. Ken Singleton with 123 walks.
Shift on again. They play the other way in the outfield, though. And Harper will pop this one up. That one handled by J.J. Hardy, the shortstop over there. 2 outs. Here's Worth, who was called out on strikes first time up.
Bryce got his pitch. I think you could hear the frustration just on how quiet it is here at Nats Park when he popped up.
Rendon still at first, 2 outs.
Still got that black eye from his slide into home on the walk-off the other night.
Right now, Ubaldo Jimenez hitting some corners. Something going on. Brian O'Nora taking forever to sweep off home plate. I don't know if Jason didn't feel too good after one of those pitches, but that was a long sweep. On base streak intact at 29 and counting. The longest of his career, now ball 2.
He just looked at the right side of the infield. He has the whole right side. Did you see him peek out there?
That one bounces way out in front of home plate. Ubaldo Jimenez has been all over the place here in the first 3 innings. But that doesn't mean, as that piece said, a guy is easy at all to hit. You just don't know where anything's going right now.
We've seen Jason Worth with 2 strikes reach out and touch one through there, and we just caught him peeking at that hole. But Chris Davis now in a 3-2 count going to play behind Rendon, so that hole not quite as big as it just was. He was holding him on the previous pitches.
Off-speed pitch, and Worth strikes out. The Nats have stranded 4 base runners. They've had 4 walks and a bunt base hit.
Any device. Cox, game on. 2-0 as we head to the top of the 4th. Ubaldo Jimenez either throwing one in the dirt or painting right now with 4 walks. Gio Gonzalez giving up a couple of runs early in the 2nd inning on a couple of walks, and that's where we're at, 2-0.
The leadoff man is Caleb Joseph. 1-out walk in the 2nd got the trouble started. J.J. Hardy walked. And then with 2 outs, RBI hits by Ubaldo Jimenez and Nolan Reimold. That ball's well hit out to right center. Had a loud sound to it, but too high, and Taylor takes care of that for the 1st out.
Be sure to catch the Nats as they conclude a 3-game set against the Phillies on Sunday, September 27th. That's a 1:35 start. First 25,000 fans in attendance receive Nationals gloves presented by Coca-Cola. That's a good deal. Visit nationals.com to purchase your tickets right now.
J.J. Hardy.
Oh, so they're like winter gloves.
So for your winter swings?
Yeah, it doesn't get cold around here. You don't need gloves.
1-1, and that ball popped up out of play.
Last winter was my first East Coast winter. Look at my phone app in the morning. It says high of 16 today. Not used to that.
Let's go for a run.
I did. And my lungs froze.
And a 2-2 to J.J. Hardy.
If the Nats can just find a way to get this to 3 by the time they get to Flushing for the last 3, I'm telling you, how the New York media works, how that city works, I mean, it would be pure chaos if they can get it to that.
That ball driven to the gap in right center. Bryce Harper over to cut it off. Good range by Bryce to keep Hardy to 1 bag here in the 4th inning. Let's talk a little pitching with Dan.
Bob, you mentioned that Max Scherzer will start tomorrow. Then Tanner Roark will go in the series finale. The Nationals could have had Jordan Zimmermann start that game on normal rest, but he asked manager Matt Williams for an extra day off so that he will go on Friday. Instead, Zimmermann dealing with a little bit of a stiff neck. He could have then been in line to start the final game of the regular season up in New York had he been bumped up to start on Thursday, but he wanted that extra day. Matt Williams did say that if that final game of the season means something, Zimmermann could go on short rest.
And if that happens, we'll take it.
But you know how everything's like doubled and tripled in New York? 3 games to make up by October 2nd. Not the easiest task based on who the Mets are playing. But if you can find a way to do that, I'm telling you, it would be mayhem when the Nats get to Citi Field for the last 3. And you know, that's all you want as a skipper and as a ball club is, you know, it's almost like getting Bryce Harper to the plate, representing the tying run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. You have a chance. But I'm telling you, they would be tight as tight can be if that happened.
And on an 0-2 pitch, Gio launches a fastball that Jose Lobaton can't get to.
And just a bit outside.
Junior Lake, the hitter, fly ball to Harper first time. The pitcher Jimenez next. And a 2-2 with 1 out. Pretty important pitch right here. And he gets him with a big curveball. Junior Lake trying to hit that ball out of the yard. And that's strikeout number 3. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
You get the sense in watching that swing that he was not walking. He kind of designated, I'm hitting a home run or nothing right here. And Gio Gonzalez flips a 3-2 curveball in there, and Junior Lake comes out of his shoes like it's a 3-0 green light for strike 3.
Ubaldo Jimenez, base hit to right center first time. And Gio tails 93 away from him. Perfect on the outer half.
Good frame by Lobaton. Pitch that might have been at the bottom of the zone, caught the top of the baseball, blocked it in for a strike. Watch how low this pitch is and watch what Jose Lobaton does with it. Such an art to that. For those of you that don't know, it has to be close to a strike, and you're making it be more of a strike than it might have been. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can't do it on every pitcher. The umpire's going to see it. Did it again. Did it the same way. Did it again. Wow.
2 Ks in the inning, so through 4 for Gio. He's given up 2 runs on 3 hits. Offense needed it. Wow, Bill takes care of Teddy. We have a tussle. Oh, there's a fumble.
Oh, all right.
Is this football or rugby? That looks like a rugby ball. Oh, my. Teddy giving Abe a rough ride.
I'm not sure, but the Pope better jump out of the stands and pummel somebody tomorrow in the race. Maybe have a little Pope mobile or something. He jumps out and crushes somebody. Big white hat on.
We'll see.
I think they should.
Clinton Robinson takes 3 in a row. He wouldn't walk a 3rd consecutive leadoff man, would he? Ubaldo Jimenez 62 pitches in 3 innings. Clint Robinson drives one to left center and over to the gap and off the glove of Junior Lake. Nats get a break. Lake was there and he just didn't squeeze it.
Yeah, it's got to be an error, right?
You would think.
I think he already put it up there. Clint Robinson with a nice swing, however, hits it well to left center field. You're wondering if it's going to get in the gap, but the ball just kind of dies in left center. And I think that's what fooled Junior Lake, but that play's got to be made. I mean, he was there. That's just a major league clank. That ball has to be caught at this level. Kind of rolled right out of his glove. And the 5th free base runner tonight for the Nationals. 4 walks and now an error.
Adam Jones usually out there. Back problems have him in the dugout. And Ian Desmond's going to hit a slow roller over to the left side. It'll advance the runner, and Desmond safe as Manny Machado's throw was high and outside. So the Nats will have 1st and 3rd, nobody out.
Boy, with all the walks and the sloppy defense, this has not been a well-played game to this point. And watch Clint Robinson. Good read going in behind Manny Machado. He double pumps, then has to rush his throw. Manny Machado, as good as they get at third base, has trouble finding the grip. So he travels, then throws it high. Ian Desmond looks like he would have been safe. They'll probably score that a hit when they watch the replay. But like I said, not the cleanest game in the world to this point.
Yeah, hit was on the board. The Nats have 2 and a big spot for Michael A. Taylor. But he'll pop it up. Short right field. Couple of guys a long way to go here. And that ball was caught by Jonathan Scope. And look at the throw. He turns around and makes to home. Very close to colliding with Steve Pearce there. Outstanding play by their second baseman.
Well, this one had disaster written all over it, and Jonathan Scope just put the wheels back on this game with a great defensive play. Look at the spin move, the throw right on the money to Caleb Joseph. Clinton Robinson had notions of continuing here, but he read the throw. Almost had a pile up right there. The ball snow coning out of Scope's glove. A spin move, a perfect throw, keeps us a 2-0 game. What a play by the Orioles second baseman. See that ball rolling out of his glove as he caught it with his bare hand. Lots of stuff going on right there.
No, Jose Lobaton batting in the 8th spot. Becomes a vital at bat here to get the Nats at least on the board. Strike 1. Pretty good. Runners in scoring position for a guy who doesn't play but about twice a week. 310. Up the middle. Could be 2, but a boot, and everybody is safe still. Ian Desmond came close to coming off the bag, and the Nats are on the board as the Baltimore defense is having the best of times and worst of times in this inning.
Well, that last top came up and bit him, and where he went wrong is you look at the pile up. It looks like a president's race at second base right here. Look at this. He tried to reach for it with his glove. J.J. Hardy was there. They still can't get it. Ian Desmond falls on top of everybody, and it's Teddy, George, and Abe all piling up at second base. Watch this. I think if you look at that last hop, it came up and bit Scope. He was thinking that ball's going to stay down, have a little jump to it.
Fielder's choice RBI E4, and now a throw to third and a throw to first, and Gio manages to beat that out.
Or did he beat it out? It looked like he was out from up here. So looks like a decent bunt, but Caleb Joseph, like a cat all over it, throws it to Manny Machado, who has a serious hose across the infield. And yeah, they're going to look at this one again, folks. I thought Gio was out, but it looks like pretty bang bang. Oh, that's close. Well, a lot of action in this game. Some of it good, most of it sloppy, but it's still pretty entertaining if you like to be entertained.
Mixed reaction by a mixed crowd when they saw the replay.
What do you got right here?
He's out. Double play.
Weird, wild, sloppy game so far.
2-1. Nats pick up a run.
Two to one as we head to the top of the fifth inning. Time for Toyota K's for Kids. Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by making a donation of $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout by a Nats pitcher this season. 4 for Gio here tonight.
Top of the fifth inning. 2-3-2 O's. 1-2-1 Nats. Reimold 1 for 2 with an RBI hit back in the second. And Gio throws a fastball that just misses up and in. And he's averaging about 16 pitches per inning his first 4. Right in the ball game. It's one of those games, just keep pitching and start catching the ball. Whoever does that's going to win. Only 5 hits in the game. And a 2-2. Right on the inside edge. Gio with a 92, and he's fanned 3 Orioles in a row. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Just burying that fastball into the glove side. Perfectly placed. 92 miles an hour right on the front edge of the plate. Look at him reach out to that target. Take his head right to where he wants the ball to go. And Jose Lobaton tightens it up at the end. Nice pitch.
Manny Machado. Bouncing ball, fly ball to right, 0 for 2. The Braves have scored 4 times in New York. Mets led 1-0 on David Wright's 4th homer of the year. Now it's Atlanta 4-1, top of the 5th inning. Other way, well placed, base hit.
It's so funny how that score there influences the importance of this game here. And obviously this game important regardless of the score. Matt Williams Ball Club got to find a way to win no matter what. But when you look up and you see 4-1 Braves over the Mets, you're talking about what, 5.5 if they win tonight? And in any way to get it to 3, what we were talking about earlier, get it to 3 and see what happens.
A week and a half to do it. Here's Chris Davis. That's a fair ball right inside the bag at third. It'll get into the deep part of the corner. Machado wheeling around third. Bouncer to Desmond and then safe. Lobaton had to go up to get the throw and couldn't get back down for the tag.
No argument from Lobaton. It looked like it was close. What a slide by Manny Machado to avoid the tag. Great throw by Ian Desmond. He got a one-hopper from Jason Worth that slowed down the whole play a little bit. Watch. The ball kind of checks up on the grass, but Desmond lets it rip. And what a slide by Manny Machado to get in there. I mean, he just contorted his body in all different ways to reach back for the plate with his left hand. And did he just get the corner of the plate? Right here will show. He did. Look at that. My goodness. Everybody talking about Josh Donaldson's slide in Toronto. That one by Machado right there, every bit as good as the one you saw from Donaldson earlier in the year on the short fly ball against the Indians to second base.
3-1 Baltimore. Nats will not challenge, literally by his fingertips.
Great effort by Jose Lobaton, but a better slide by Manny Machado. That was impressive. The art of sliding, folks, by Manny Machado. I think a lost start in today's game.
Another runner in scoring position with 1 out. Steve Pearce, the hitter. Pearce, a fly ball to center. Bouncer to Robinson at first. Orioles have out hit the Nats 5-2 and lead 3-1.
So check this out. The shot from down the line from left field. Watch Manny Machado stick his left foot into the ground, almost like a wide receiver, right there, and then avoid the tag. Jose Lobaton did everything right. Ian Desmond did everything right. Even Jason Worth gave Ian Desmond a nice big hop. But watch him just take his body away from Jose Lobaton with that jab step, and his eyes are closed and just feels for the plate and hits it. Unbelievable. Can't teach that, folks.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Pearce. And the curveball in the dirt, well blocked by Jose Lobaton.
That's just athleticism, baseball instinct. I mean, Jose Lobaton did everything right. Ian Desmond did everything right. Jason, I mean, that was just a good play all the way around.
That ball really hit hard into the corner. Chris Davis scores easily. Steve Pearce drives in his 35th run, and the Orioles lead 4-1.
to shut down anything that Matt Williams is looking for after his ball club put up a run in the bottom of the fourth. The Orioles answer with 2 here in the top of the 5th.
They're starting to move around in the bullpen. Getting down to the time of the year when you can't afford to fall behind too far in a game. So Jonathan Schoop is the next hitter. Lobaton and Gio are done talking, but Steve McCatty's coming out. He'll be buying some bullpen time here. Doug Fister is up.
Trying to get loose in a hurry.
And that bullpen thing's still kind of new for him.
Pretty sure Doug does everything in a hurry. He'll be loose.
So Gio struck out Nolan Reimold looking. The Machado soft ground ball got through the right side. The Davis get around late ground ball right inside the third base bag. And then the Steve Pearce rocket to left. Baltimore with a big inning. Still only 1 out. Jonathan Schoop, a ground ball to short and a swinging strikeout. So the off speed, then 91 gets him to an 0-2 count. A defensive 0-2 hack.
Climbed the ladder on Schoop last time for strike 3. Threw him a fastball up in his eyes and he couldn't resist.
And a big breaking ball in the dirt. Schoop acting like he might have tipped it, but he's been called out by Brian O'Nora. 2 down.
Spinning that curveball up there and Schoop in swing mode. I think he hit Lobaton in the helmet with the backswing. That was what I was paying attention to. Not if he foul tipped it, and he did. And that's going to do it for Gio. Here comes Matt Williams.
So Gio Gonzalez is going to go just 4 2/3. 6 strikeouts. Couple of walks really hurt back in the second inning. And it's up to the bullpen now for a while. Couple of walks, 6 strikeouts, 6 hits. Responsible for 1 more base runner. Nats down 4-1. Chris Tillman for the Orioles. Max Scherzer on regular rest for the Nats tomorrow. Then in the ball game on Thursday, it'll be Tyler Wilson, the rookie, against Tanner Roark before the Phillies come in for the weekend. So make a note of the makeup game Thursday at 4 and a Saturday 4 o'clock game. Here's Doug Fister to face Caleb Joseph.
Fastball averaging 86, slider 81, curveball changeup to complement it.
Joseph 1 for 3 career against Doug, who pours in a strike.
But Matt Williams can't wait around to see if anybody's going to work out of any jam. He has to manage these games like they're all game 7. And he's going with the matchup that he thinks is going to work right here with the right on right.
That ball hooking.
And I would imagine maybe that the score on the scoreboard out there, 4-1 Braves, has something to do with it too. I mean, this is going to turn out to be a huge night either way for the Nationals if the Braves beat the Mets.
Outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gets him on a swing and a miss.
Nice pitch.
So Doug comes out with a right-handed matchup, gets Caleb Joseph. Top of the order coming up. Ubaldo Jimenez, 73 pitches, 41 strikes, threw 4, and Anthony Rendon leads off. Walked last time, 0 for 1. Crowd feeling urgency, some of them starting to clap to get some guys on base and move this line.
Third time around, see if they can figure out the Orioles right-hander.
Rendon gets jammed. Bouncing ball. Manny Machado for the first down. For the Achiever and You, PNC Bank with our minor league report. And we check in on Lucas Giolito. So this season, AA Harrisburg, high A Potomac before that. 3.15 ERA solid, 131 strikeouts, 37 walks. Absolutely the best pitching prospect in the Washington organization. 1 year from now, where will he be? Here's Escobar 0 for 1 with a walk.
I don't know that I've seen a pitcher miss so poorly on certain pitches and paint on other pitches like Jimenez is doing here tonight. I mean, he's throwing them to the screen. He's throwing 58-footers, and then he's just painting sliders and splits and run-back fastballs after that.
That's a defensive swing by Escobar, kind of reaching out there. 2 ground ball outs, and Bryce Harper next.
Just missed one last time up. Popped up to second base. It was a mile high, and he was frustrated.
On the inside edge, Bryce walked first time up. Yankees hit one last night to eclipse the Orioles by 1 this month. The Nationals right behind them, 2 of the top 3 home run hitting teams this month. The Orioles have hit 200. The Nats 166. Some of the American League home run totals for the teams are just crazy.
Blue Jays 210. This was yesterday, though. Astros 205. Yankees 202.
Do you know that Toronto has scored 825 runs? There's only a couple of teams anywhere near 700.
And Bryce has hit 10 home runs in September, and that's when you win awards, in the month of September.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not backing into anything. One-two pitch.
That's the most home runs by anybody in the month of September.
18 RBIs. 24 runs. Harper rips one that's hooking.
That guy,
going, buddy.
Little man caught it, but I think that one guy dove into his beer. Did you see that? He reached over, and then the beer was up in the air, and he smashed his face into the foam.
An Ian Desmond fan gets a Bryce Harper foul ball.
That's awesome.
2-2 pitch. Change up low.
Oh, 2 to 3-2.
Right off the top of the barrel.
Had a few hits lately down there like that. Manny Machado playing way up the middle. He's got the whole left side.
Bryce Harper takes ball 4. Close again. A new Nationals record for walks in a season with 117. Number 5 by Jimenez tonight.
Second time tonight, Bryce has gone 0-2 to 4-2. That's a Nats record, folks. 117 free passes.
Kenny Singleton of the Expos and Bryce Well, he should be there next week.
You walk 5 guys in a big league game, you usually don't win.
In fact, in many cases, you're not even in the game in the 5th inning.
Good point.
Well, you just saw the 2 most prolific home run hitters in their leagues standing together at first base.
Yeah, that's a lot of taters right there mixed together. $84 taters.
Worth guides one up the middle, but big hop for the shortstop there, J.J. Hardy, and the Nats are gone. They've stranded 6, and through 5, the Orioles lead 4-1. Doug Fister, J.J. Hardy, top of the 6th. Hardy 4 for 25 career against Doug Fister. He's had a good night with a walk, a run, and a base hit. Got him on the corner. Doug Fister strikes out Joseph and Hardy. Nissan will check out strike 3.
Doug Fister coming in, hitting some spots. Jose Lobaton set up off the plate away. Just nips the corner, maybe a little bit outside. A nice frame once again by Lobaton. Doug Fister kind of changing the tempo of this game, pounding that strike zone here.
They're going to pinch hit here with a left-hander, Gerardo Parra, for Junior Lake, who's 0 for 2 and hasn't had a very good night in the field either.
Maybe Buck Showalter going left on right matchup, and he's also making his defense much stronger in center field with a 3-run lead.
That he is, with a guy who won a Gold Glove with Arizona 4 years ago, Gerardo Parra. The Orioles got him from Milwaukee in a trade for a minor league right-hander, Zach Davies. And the Orioles box score, 6 of them have hits. The RBIs by Jimenez and Reimold back in the second, and then Davis and Pierce in the fifth. Parra reaching. Anthony Rendon on the right side.
Attention Nats fans, the O's game originally scheduled for last night will play Thursday at 4:05. So this series ends Thursday. Game starts at 4:05. Tickets are still available. Visit Astros.com to secure yours today. 4:05 Thursday.
There's Ubaldo Jimenez.
The Pope going to be here? Maybe.
Haven't heard that baseball's on his docket.
Have a great rally hat.
And the 0-2. Doug Fister mowing down the O's. 4 in a row, 3 on strikes. Robinson, Desmond, Taylor coming up. (4-1) Orioles. Bottom of the 6th inning. Robinson, Desmond, Taylor, Gerardo Parra in center field. Orioles going to play a big shift here on Clint Robinson, with Jonathan Scope out into right field. J.J. Hardy near the umpire, and Manny Machado at short, basically. On the corner, 1-1. Nats box, only 2 hits. A bunt by Michael A. Taylor in the second, and then an infield hit by Ian Desmond in the fourth. A couple of Orioles errors gave the Nats their run and a chance to score more, but a bunt into a double play ended that inning. Robinson reaching. One hopper, Jimenez. Nats just can't center the right-hander's stuff right now.
All right, time for your T-Mobile fan photo. I'm going to say it's Allison with her boyfriend, Abe. Or maybe just her friend, Abe. Hanging out at the game. All right. They look good together. Tweet your strongest fan photo. Hashtag Nats Couch Game. You just might see yourself in upcoming broadcasts. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Thanks, Allison.
I wonder if the presidents are going to try to sneak a couch photo past us.
I don't know.
Pretty good promo where they sit on the couch watching the video board like that. Just thought they might try to sneak one in under our noses here. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ian Desmond a walk and an infield hit. And Desmond gets jammed and pops it up in a short right center. Early call. Steve Pearce, he makes the grab. 2 outs. Michael A. Taylor trying to keep the inning going here for Lobaton. Perfect bunt down the third base line in the second inning after an Ian Desmond walk. But Ian had been picked off by the catcher right before that. And now they're going to play a right-handed shift on Taylor. So something we don't see infields do much at all.
I mean, I don't really recall Michael Taylor hitting a lot of ground balls to the right side, so I'm buying this one a little bit. Watch him do it right here.
I'd like to see him hit one right to Ed Hickox.
Or Buck Showalter.
1-2. Casey Jansen. The length of Doug Fister's outing here depends on the Nats lineup and if they get down to the number 9 spot. Michael A. Taylor, I mean, he didn't even spit or didn't even think about going after that breaking ball, just spit on the pitch, and that's an offering that's given him problems at times. Seen it well. 3-2 now, and he will hit this right over the umpire into right center. Michael A. 2 for 3.
Nice swing right there. Just shortening up with 2 strikes, punching it the other way.
Boy, that's a swing right here that could really make him a good big league hitter.
Well, you see his head to the baseball, just kind of playing pepper right here. And when you're facing him, and as we said at the beginning, you have to stay on the fastball away because he likes to run it back for strike 3. And Michael Taylor did just that. Stayed on a pitch that was coming back, served it into right, and the first outfield hit tonight for the Nats.
Lobaton stopped his swing, ball 1. Matt Den Decker next if the Nats can extend the 6th inning. Right-hander Brad Brock. Now on a count of 2-0, they go into even more of a pull position here on Lobaton. Into the 9 o'clock hour here at Nationals Park. Quiet night offensively for the home team. An unearned run on 3 hits. Lobaton deflected by the first baseman, That will be a 3-4-3 as Davis gets it back from Jonathan Scope.
TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Visit MLB.tv today.
Doug Fister, because the Nats didn't make it down far enough to pinch hit for him. Another inning of work. 4 hitters, 4 up, 4 down. Top of the order, Nolan Reimold, who's 2 for 8 against Doug. 16 pitches, 13 strikes. Still 4-1 in New York. Bottom of the 7th. Braves on top. Sounded like a busted bat. Over to get it, Escobar. And Doug Fister keeps on moving this game along for the Nats. Machado and Davis the next 2.
Doug Fister looks like he's having fun for the first time this year. We've had a couple of shots of him smiling. He got that save under his belt. You remember his first career save, and ever since then he's been just locked in. Looks like 2014 Doug Fister. Yeah, baby, on the mound.
Machado base hit through the right side last time. Fister ahead. Perfect on the outside edge. Manny Machado this year 3 for 13 against the Nats. Close. Tried to run back that fastball. Had him reaching. Good pitch. 1 out, 7th inning. Big slow curveball, 70 miles an hour for his 4th strikeout. Mercedes-Benz will take you around the curve here.
Yeah, Manny Machado way out in front. Little smile from the Orioles third baseman as he can't believe how slow this 12-6 curveball was from Doug Fister.
Livan Hernandez is smiling somewhere.
Great job, Doug Fister.
Matt Thornton's been getting ready for Chris Davis. That's the matchup when we come back. With the O's on top by 3 in the 7th, and Doug gets a really nice reception.
Out of the Nats bullpen tonight. Struck out 4 Orioles. Threw 26 pitches, 18 of those for strikes, and just kind of picked up the tempo of this ball game. Add a little life to his ball club. Looked like he was having fun, free and easy. Got a bunch of high fives when he got back to the Nats dugout. So a nice outing for Doug Fister here against the Orioles.
Yeah, 2 innings. So now Matt Thornton gets the assignment against Chris Davis, who bumped that RBI double inside the third base bag last time up. Chris Davis 2 for 9 career against Matt with 2 RBIs, 3 strikeouts. Laid off that low and inside pitch. And that ball is hammered into the corner. It is hooking and it is foul.
A lot of top spin on that swing. You could see that ball wasn't going to get out of here. It was just a matter if it was fair or foul. Watch him kind of just roll his wrist and create a lot of top spin on this ball with the uppercut swing. And actually some hook to it as he got around it, and it was just foul.
And some 94 action upstairs for strike 2. To the second baseman, Anthony Rendon. Fister and Thornton getting the job done out of the bullpen. Number 9 spot coming up. The Nats need to get busy. Nats coming up with a number 9 spot. We'll see Matt Dendecker in a moment. Then the top of the order. 4-1-0s. Kind of an odd night for both starting pitchers. Jimenez found a way to stick around for over 100 pitches.
It's been an odd night period, but it's time to swing the bats for the Nats. Matt Dendecker set to lead this thing off, and Jimenez has been, I guess, effectively wild. It seems like, bouncing pitches, throwing with a screen, and then backdooring, splits. I mean, painting when he has to. So now it's time to figure out a way to win this, especially with the Braves up 4-1.
Yeah, he tried to backdoor a few pitches, and he backstopped a few, but tough to hit, tough to center. The Nats have really suffered from a lack of base hits in this one. Doug Fister really good. I think you made a great point. Looking like he's having some fun enjoying that bullpen role.
Yeah, he's out there free and easy, loose, just pound the strike zone. Looked like old Doug Fister had a good tempo going and kept this ball game right where it's at, 4-1. That was his job. So they could use a few see-you-laters right here. Maybe a bloop and a blast. A couple of bloops and a blast. Get right back into this thing. Yeah, Carp, you got a jersey. See you later.
Wow. No, I think he has it. Cool. Well, let's hope for maybe a couple of base hits and then one of those. Brad Brock, 29-year-old right-hander. Matt Dendecker faces him for the first time. And he gets popped up. Left side of the infield. Machado, the call. And the Nats still have just 3 hits tonight.
DC Lexus dealers, they're donating $250 to the Children's National Health System. For every home run a Nats player hits this season. So how about a few? Lexus, the pursuit of perfection.
Top of the order, Anthony Rendon. Oh for 3 career against this right-hander. Sporting a good breaking ball right there. Sharply hit Machado right there. Now, pitching has been the one thing that's kept the Orioles from being a contending ball club this year. They had a stretch when they won 1 game over a 2-week period, and they just didn't have anybody on the staff who could stop it. Casey Jansen will take over for the Nats in the 8th. Their pitching's been good tonight. Essential for the Nats for Escobar to get aboard here for Bryce Harper.
Saying something about all night long. Didn't like that call.
Well, we saw Jimenez on occasion miss by wide margins and then get a whole lot of right on the edge calls from Brian O'Neill.
Well, this is Yudel Escobar still worried about strike 1, and then he let it affect him on strike 2 and chased one out of the zone. He's still heated up there.
Oh, 2. Swing and a miss on a big sweeping breaking ball. Tosses the bat, angrily the helmet, and the Nats are down in the 7th. Washington Nationals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. 4-6-2 O's, 1-3-1 Nats. Casey Janssen to take over, top of the 8th inning. Orioles know him well in the division for quite a while. Steve Pearce 0 for 3 against the Nats right-hander.
It's a two-seam fastball. It's averaged 88 miles an hour this year.
Lobaton moves inside. That's the pull swing on a ball just off the plate. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, cut the fastball, sink the fastball, slider, curveball change.
Getting late in New York as well. Top of the 8th there. Now to the bottom of the inning. Braves still lead the Mets 4-1. Jansen bolts the outside edge. Steve Pearce down on strikes. 11th strikeout by the Nats tonight.
This is the pitch Yunel Escobar was talking about all night long. Brian Honora seeing that side of the plate well. Nice frame by Jose Lobaton once again. Jose Lobaton makes me want to go pitch to him the way he frames.
Wow. Jonathan Scope on a big curveball by Casey Janssen. That was 4 miles an hour faster than the one Doug Fister threw last inning. A little bit in, 1-1.
Be sure to text Masson's word of the day, haircut, to 29292 for your chance to win an autographed prize pack from Masson, brought to you by Haircuttery, home of the smile back guarantee. No small print, just big smiles. Haircut.
Now that is some serious jamage, and the pitcher's going to catch the foul pop-up. Casey Janssen got there first, made the call, 2 outs.
I think Casey Janssen got a haircut. Look at that. Tightened it up. Nice play. Very rarely do you see a pitcher catch a pop-up, but that one didn't have enough hang time for Clint Robinson to get there, and Janssen made the play.
And Doug Fister is really jealous right now.
He is. He's in the Nats dugout saying, I wish that was me.
Caleb Joseph. 0 for 1 career against Janssen. 2 outs here in the 8th inning. The Nats do have their big guns lined up for the bottom of this frame. They'll need at least 3 in the 8th or the 9th. Got a left-hander sitting out in that bullpen, Zach Britton, with 34 saves. This ball hit into right. And Bryce Harper in to grab it, and he will be the first of those big guns up in the bottom of the 8th inning. Worth and Robinson to follow. Bryce has been amazing in September. 10 homers, 18 RBIs, on base twice tonight. The Nats need a rally. Harper getting ready for this one. Bottom of the 8th inning. For every national walk this year, $50 to support Girls on the Run DC. Now this year the Nats, 509 walks, and Bryce Harper, 117 of them. A new Nats record. So look at that, over $25,000. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to go for a walk. Take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. Another batter for Brad Brock here. Fastball outside. Bryce Harper against the right-hander, 0 for 3. Jason Worth and Clint Robinson the next two.
That home alone face Bryce made, thanks to my friends on Twitter, was against the Giants. Remember Desmond hit that home run up by the glove?
Oh yeah, in San Fran.
Yeah. He and Desmond hit a bomb to where you just don't see right-handers hit him in San Francisco up on the concourse, and that's when Bryce made that classic face in the dugout. Need base runners. I don't know if this is a green light situation.
Three and 1 to Bryce.
Pretty good average on 3-1 count.
Walk number 3 tonight. 118 on the year. And the bottom line is right now the Nats need base runners any way they can get them. So Worth is next.
It all started with a Bryce Harper leadoff walk in the bottom of the 8th.
Jason Worth 1 for 2 with a solo home run against the right-hander Brad Brock. And he doesn't bite on that curveball. Brock threw a lot of big hooks last inning. Oh no, that was 89. I guess that's a hard slider that just looks as big as a curve, huh? That's a fastball. That thing is rammed into left, and playing deep, Reimold grabs it on the track. Jason hit that ball about 370.
Well, I thought that was over Reimold's head. Jason got a fastball right in his happy place. And maybe a little topspin here. Good route by Reimold. Nice catch. Ball not carrying on a cool night. Jason Worth frustrated. Fired his helmet into the corner of the dugout.
Yeah, he really scorched that ball. Well, 0 for 3 now is Clint Robinson. .88 diving away from him there. They want it upstairs. Clint able to stop. Counts even 2-2. They play him about as straight away as anybody does in the outfield. Parra a little toward left center. Then Clint Robinson works the count full.
tying run if he gets on right there. Big pitch coming in this ball game. Big pitch. He's not stealing. You'd think.
Yeah, can't afford to lose any base runners right now. Nats down by 3. 3-2 pitch. Robinson keeps the AB alive.
Got 18 home runs on deck. You just want Ian Desmond to get up there if you're Matt Williams as a tying run.
Yeah, Darren O'Day, who's had a couple of saves, up for the O's. Clint Robinson called out on strikes. Doesn't say anything, walks away. 2 outs.
Well, big pitch in this ball game, and Clint Robinson, a guy who knows the strike zone, takes a 95-mile-an-hour fastball right on the edge, and a call that could have gone either way goes the O's way. Brian O'Nora has been looking for strikes all night.
Here's Ian Desmond, 0 for 3 against Brock Career. 1 for 2 with a walk and a single tonight. The Nats have 1 hit that has reached the outfield. That was Michael A. Taylor's drive. Right center, 2 outs in the 6th.
Yeah, he has 2 hits and Ian Desmond has 1.
Brock, 57th appearance on the year. Came in with 82 strikeouts in 73 innings. A 2.45 ERA and a 1.98 opponent's average. Big time American League numbers for any reliever.
Got a good changeup. When it's off a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball.
(4-1) Orioles, bottom of the 8th. Ian Desmond can't reach that. The Nats are gone. This one into the 9th inning with Baltimore pitching well. Both bullpens have been strong. By Maryland basketball. The men's basketball season tickets on sale right now. Start at just $349. Visit umterps.com or call 1-800-I'm-A-TERP. Fear the turtle. And by Goosebumps in theaters October 16th. Well, beautiful night as we look upstream to the Navy Yard, the Anacostia. And we go to the top of the ninth with Blake Trinan against J.J. Hardy, Gerardo Parra, and then the number 9 spot in the Orioles lineup.
Opponent's hitting 255 off Blake. Fastball mid to upper 90s. Slider mid to upper 80s.
There's that great run of that high 90s fastball. J.J. Hardy, 1 career at bat against Blake with a base on balls. He's walked, scored, and singled tonight.
Good fastball, good slider, 0-2.
Very close. Got inside of the right-handed batter. Ian Desmond for the first out, top 9. Buy one, get one ticket offer for fans as we wrap up the season. And you can do that if you attended a Nats game in 05. Present a photo of yourself at an 05 game, or a photo or hard copy of a ticket from 2005. Bring it to the Nationals Park box office for any remaining home games this season. Some restrictions and select seating areas apply. Here's Parra. There's Jimmy Paredes on deck in the number 9 spot. This is Parra's first at bat of the night. Inning 225 for the Orioles. He was at 328 when Milwaukee traded him. 9 homers, 31 RBIs for the Brewers.
I'm trying to think, did anything good happen in 2005? It just doesn't stick out to me as an awesome year.
Well, the Nats went 50-31 in the first half. In first place, unfortunately, 31-50 second half to finish at 500.
To my point.
Frank brought the team here with the management team from Montreal. They had virtually no time to get ready for the start of the regular season. Then they went out and played gangbusters for 3 months.
I mean, baseball back in D.C. is a good thing. I'm trying to think of outside the box.
Yeah,
it's not, that year's not ringing a bell with me.
White Sox won the whole thing.
Yeah,
that was their first championship, I think, since the late 50s.
Yeah, that's
swing and a miss. Boy, the Nats bullpen flawless. Blake Trinan strikeout. Tomorrow night, Chris Tillman for the Orioles. Last 6 starts scuffling. 7.76 ERA. 0-4 for the Nats. Max Scherzer. Career against the Orioles, 4-1 with a 3.59 ERA in 7 career starts. We'll get you going with Nats Extra 6:30. FP&I from the booth at 7. First pitch 5 after.
Bryce Harper was born in 2005. No. I mean, I'm done. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, about the 2 most noteworthy things. White Sox won their first World Series in nearly 50 years, and the Houston Astros went to their first World Series.
All right. Still, though, to my point.
2-0.
The strike zone has been floating tonight, and you have to point it out when it's there. I mean, Escobar has been shaking his head at third. I'm watching his reaction to all these close calls every time.
And then Treinen walks Paredes on 4 pitches.
What I mean by floating is sometimes it's big and sometimes it's small. And as a hitter, you just want it to be whatever it is all night. And Angel Hernandez the other night was wide to one side, but he stayed there all night, and you can't really argue with that as a hitter. Yeah, you want the ball to be on the plate ideally, but if an umpire is going to be wide on one side and you know you have to cover that pitch, as a hitter you try to. You don't love it, but at least you know that pitch is always going to be a ball or that pitch is always going to be a strike. And when it's not, it makes a very hard game even harder. For everybody involved, pitchers too.
Right side sounded like a busted bat. Clint Robinson takes care of that. The bullpen shines to keep this thing reasonable. Michael A. Taylor, bottom of the 9th, and then the Nats hope to take it from there.
Ninth inning. We invite you to stick around and catch our NetSexta post-game show. Right now, try to break it down as best we can. Right now, it's been the Orioles. A couple of big innings, 2 innings. That's the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, there hasn't been much going on in this game. It's been a weird baseball game. The strike zone for me has been all over the place. And, I think it's made a little difference, but not a whole lot of life. The ballpark had a little different feel tonight. I don't know why. Certainly not a lot of offense, a lot of errors, a weirdly played game. The thing that I'm taking out of it right now, the bullpen has been outstanding, and we have a chance to score 3 runs here in the 9th inning. We need to get the leadoff hitter on.
Exactly. The Nationals bullpen tonight, 4 scoreless innings. That's one of the things that we'll touch on when we come back. But first, let's see if we can't pull this thing out in the bottom of the 9th or send it to extras with Bob and FP right up there.
Thank you, Johnny, and thank you, Ray. Darren O'Day coming into the season, 8 career saves. He has 3 for the Orioles, so they're bringing in their right-hander tonight.
Yeah, sidearm guy, fastball 87, slider 79, occasional changeup. He's got, you really got to zone down as a hitter. His ball has a little bit of rise to it. And in his delivery, it looks like he's really going to drop down, but he doesn't drop down as far as you'd think. So the Nats have seen him before. But it's a guy you got to get down in the strike zone. He likes to throw that letter high fastball and get you to chase, and Nats fans not giving up. There's some sort of rally going here. Rally anything. What do you got?
How about a rally Taylor? Michael A. 2 hits tonight. And against O'Day, he's 1 for 1.
All right, get the rally lids on. Let's see it working. It's a good one.
They're in at the corners. Lobaton next, then the pitcher's spot. And that is a great take to get ball 1. That thing was a strike for a while.
Well, you'd think they'd take a strike right here, down by 3 with 3 outs left. A lot of teams do that. You take strike 1, and then unless you're the tie-in run or the go-ahead run, then you hack. Make him throw strikes, try to get some base runners on here and see what happens.
As I said, the bases loaded with 1 out. They settled for 1 run in the 8th. So right now Atlanta batting top 9 at Citi Field, up 4-2. Tyler Moore.
It's getting more about days off the schedule now than anything else.
It is.
That's a good take. That's the one that he wants you to swing at. The riser, even though it doesn't rise, it appears to be. He chases. He'll make you chase that fastball, let her high with 2 strikes. That's a good take by Michael Taylor.
Crowd of 27,338, waiting for something. Throws it up there again, and Michael A. has had a good at bat to get it to 3-2.
It's another good take. And he wants a base runner, and he wants one now. It's way past his bedtime, and he's here, and he wants to see a W. He's into it. That's what I'm talking about.
Taylor just guiding that ball to right on the pitch away toward the line. Pierce drops it, and it's a fair ball. Taylor had stopped, and he couldn't get to second. So Michael gets back with a ball off the glove of an outfielder. Steve Pierce was right there.
I mean, this game has been so weird from the get-go. And another free base runner for the Nats, a play that Pierce has to make. And irrelevant where Michael Taylor is on the bases, down by 3, you just need base runners. But Pierce looked like he took his eye off as that wall was approaching. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 walks from Orioles pitching tonight, and 3 errors, if they give that an error.
Somebody just gave Michael A. Taylor a hit on that.
Well, in my book, that's 9 free base runners tonight for the Nats. That play has to be made at this level.
Now they've taken the hit off the board and put up a 3rd Baltimore error.
9 free base runners. So Jose Lobaton taking a strike too. Nats have life.
Right in there, 1-1. But the Nats have great speed at first. If Lobaton can get aboard, they could run for him. Tyler Moore is on deck.
Well, you really don't run for anybody unless they're the tie-in or go-ahead run. So we'll see how that goes. He could.
I'd run for him. 1-1. Swing and a foul tip. 1-2. Lobaton tonight 0 for 3. RBI ground ball. And a swing and a miss on 89 upstairs. Johnny and Ray gave us a preview a moment ago, hoping to have some turnaround things to talk about on that section postgame, presented by WB Mason when this one's over. Here's Tyler Moore. Tyler Moore against Darren O'Day, 0 for 2 career with a base on balls. Trying to get the crowd up. Boys' night out, and they're not giving up.
He's going to try to get upstairs with that fastball again, just like he did to Jose Lobaton. Tough one to lay off when it's up in your eyes. We'll see what happens here with 2 strikes. You get on top of those, they can go far. It's just not as easy as it looks.
Baltimore, 5 pinch hits this year, a homer, 3 RBIs. And a 1-2 pitch. He fights it away. Orioles trying to even the season series at 2-2. Baltimore will pop this one up to the right side. Chris Davis underneath it. 2 outs.
See what Chris Davis did right there? You remember last year when they were stressing that rule of taking the ball out of your glove? He went to throw that around and dropped. That would have been an interesting call in April of 2014.
Up to Anthony Rendon now to keep this going. Rendon 0 for 1 career against Darren O'Day. Target away on a 1-1 pitch, and Rendon thought he had something he could drive right there. Straight back and went. Now it's 1-2.
You see him shaking his head. He got a slider just sitting there, and he wants that one back. Good take. Real good take.
Looking to break through here. The top 5 spots in the order without a base hit tonight. Bunch of walks. And the 2-2 fouled straight back.
Get some good rips.
And Rendon will pop it up. Chris Davis over there near the tarp. Can't get it. And the Orioles are giving the Nats every chance they can to make a comeback here.
Yeah, there's been some bad hops on some fly balls tonight. At first it was Junior Lake in center field. Then it was Pierce in right field. And now Chris Davis kind of gets lost on a pop-up. So just hasn't been a clean game here tonight. I think you said it perfectly. They're giving the Nats a chance, more than a chance in this one.
Got him. Game over. The Nationals get only 3 hits all night, and the Orioles win the first game of the series, and Anthony Rendon unhappy about that call from Brian O'Nora.
Well, he's been calling him outside off the plate all night, and I wouldn't be shocked if this one was too. Rendon, who knows the strike zone well, Brian O'Nora was looking for strikes, is a nice way to say it, all night long.
4-6-3 Orioles with 6 stranded. 1-3-1 for the Nats with 9 men left on base. 2 hours and 51 minutes. And the Orioles have evened the season series at 2 wins apiece. Tomorrow night, Max Scherzer will go for the Nats. He'll be opposed by Chris Tillman. Scherzer 12-11. Tillman 9-11. Nats Extra at 6:30. This has been a presentation of Masson, Johnny, and Ray. Straight ahead from the booth. So long for just a while.